Welcome to this video. Today I want to explain how I helped Daniel get clarity. So just a really brief case study in a sense, because one of my clients, Daniel, had a problem, and he actually had this problem. By the way, I'm not just making this up. Here's the Telegram message that he sent, a little bit about it. But the point or the problem which he experienced was not having clarity on his business. He was struggling a lot with his offer and what to actually help people with. So on the surface, a lot of coaches that you might know immediately are going to start helping him explain about business and like what kind of strategy he should use, or like kind of asking him what kind of ideas he had for the business, stuff like this. But I used various other methods in order to identify what was the root problem. So it was actually the problem that was going on, and I helped him solve it. So today I'm going to kind of walk you through how I did this, because I find it enjoyable to do this. So the first thing I told him was, you get wherever you put your attention to. So the reason that he didn't have clarity on his business was first and foremost because he focused his attention on it. So it might sound really strange, but attention is basically a channeler of energy. So everything inside of the universe is energy. There's plenty of like scientific evidence, even quantum theory, about the fact that everything is energy. And how it works is your attention, which is kind of your concentrated awareness, is the definition, is the channeler for energy into something specific. So if you focus your attention on negative stuff, you're going to create more negative stuff. If you focus your attention on more positive stuff, you're going to create more positive stuff. It's not this vague or general, it's actually very specific. So if you focus your attention, in this case, on not having clarity, you're going to get a reality where you do not have clarity. So you have to focus on something else. That's pretty much the first thing I told him. So instead of focusing on not having clarity, start focusing on having clarity. Even though it might sound a little bit strange to actually do this. Like, focus on the positive side, the plus things. Don't focus your attention on the problem. Okay? That's kind of the first point I told him. The second point is about interpretation. This was quite an interesting topic which we talked about for quite some time. Because your brain has three main functions. It first of all senses. So with your senses, with your eyes, with your ears, with your like whatever, with your nose, you smell, you see, you hear, you taste, you touch. The second function is interpretation. And this is basically how you interpret what you sense. So if you sense, for example, a tiger, this is like the first example that came to mind as well in the call. If you sense a tiger, then you're probably going to interpret that as danger. So the final function of the brain, because these are functions of the brain, is condition. So this puts you inside of or kind of the interpretation determines the condition. So if you sense a tiger, you interpret it as danger, your condition becomes I am in danger. This is usually referring to your sense of self. Like, I am, for example, happy, I am sad, I am in danger, I am safe. That's referring to your condition. So what I told him is that the reason he did not have clarity was because he sensed something, which could be like, for example, results on his YouTube channel, or he had a school community, so it could be like results in his school community, and he sensed something about this. So for example, he wasn't getting results with YouTube, or he wasn't getting people in his community. He sensed this, or maybe he sensed something that he kind of wrote about his business. So he wrote, for example, I want to help this person, this person, and this person. And he interpreted this as confusion. He interpreted this as not having clarity. So no clarity, essentially. The reason is that the interpretation was the problem. So there's maybe another person, there could be hypothetically another person, that sees the exact same thing and interprets it differently. For example, if you sense that you have made $1 million, so you see like $1 million in your bank account, your interpretation of that might be, I'm successful, I'm rich, I'm doing really well. However, someone like Jeff Bezos might sense the exact same thing, but his interpretation is different. He interprets it as something completely different, even though you both sense the exact same thing. And this applies to so many other things, like people. Maybe you sense someone who smiles, who smiled. The first interpretation you have is like they are really happy. The second interpretation is they might be like might have like a hidden agenda, for example. Like there's so many ways to interpret things, and this is usually what causes problems. So obviously, as a result of your interpretation, your condition follows. So if you interpret something as having no clarity, your condition becomes I am confused. And that's only going to give you more stuff which is confusing. And I can't really write this well. And by the way, that's another example. I sense that my handwriting was a little bit strange. I interpret this as I can't write well. The condition is I am not great at writing. This example applies to so many things. Now, behind this kind of three rule system are a few more things. The first one is think or thoughts. So if you have a condition I'm confused, you're going to get thoughts I am confused. If you have thoughts I'm confused, you're going to feel confused because a thought triggers a feeling. How this works specifically, I won't go into right now, but there's a very specific way in which thoughts turn into feelings, turn into reality, but that's a story for another day. And feeling turns into action because usually how you feel determines how you act. If you feel more inspired, you take more inspired action. If you feel fear, you take more fearful action, or you don't take action at all. And action creates results. Okay, so basically the reason for this problem was because he interpreted what he sensed as no clarity. His condition became I'm confused. He thought that he was confused. He felt like he was confused. He acted like he was confused. The results were exactly like he was confused. So it was pretty much the second thing. Now, we're not done yet. We have a lot more to cover. So then I told him, because now we have identified the problem is that his interpretation of the situation was wrong and his attention was focused on improper things. The next thing I told him, because in order to change your interpretation, you cannot just tell your brain, hey brain, I want you to see clarity. I want you to see riches, like abundance. I want you to see success. No, it doesn't work like that. You cannot convince your brain or your mind or your heart, whatever you want to call it. In this case, it's actually the heart, to be very specific. But you cannot convince yourself, to put it bluntly, of anything that's not currently true. So what you have to do instead, because if you try to convince yourself, that creates something called resistance. Because your subconscious or you know that it's not true. You know that you don't have clarity. You know that things are confusing because that's what you interpret. So you cannot convince yourself otherwise. What you have to do in order to remove this resistance is pretend. Pretend that you have clarity on your business. Pretend that things are working out. Pretend that you know exactly what to do. Because this removes the resistance, because you are kind of pretending, so it's kind of like a game. It removes the resistance, but it does put you into the same feeling. And the feeling is one of these high leverage things, which is going to also determine how you think, and also going to determine your condition and interpretation. So this works both ways, by the way. I don't know if I explained this already, but if you use pretending, you're basically leveraging feeling to create your interpretation. So you basically bypass the resistance of the subconscious mind, and you are able to break through this and create a new reality. So just pretend you have clarity. That's the third thing I told him. Pretend you have the clarity. And then you start to feel different, and as a result of that feeling, you start to create different action and results. Okay, so you kind of skip this loop in a bit. You skip this loop. Then what I told him as well, because he asked me some more business related questions, because obviously he asked, I don't have clarity in my business, which is completely fine. Now we covered these three things. But then I told him that the business is really just a vehicle. Because if you look at a company like Apple, for example, and I really suck at drawing these things. It doesn't really matter too much. Anyway, what I told him is a business is really just a vehicle. Apple makes incredible products, incredible phones, incredible laptops, incredible iMacs. But those products are really just products. And the business itself, Apple as a business, is the vehicle to get those products out to many people in the world. So the business is not the actual thing that probably Apple cares about. It cares so much about the product. But the vehicle is what Apple uses to get it out to people. So in the same way, any business that you know of, like think of any business that you know of right now. It could be like even consulting or coaching, which is kind of what he was trying to do with school and YouTube. This is basically just a way of getting your service out to people. So consulting is something that you do for a specific area or like craft. So for example, like business consulting in this case is something that you do. Although this is probably going to become quite complicated. So let me just put something simple like finance. If you are passionate about finance, about accounting, stuff like this, then your accounting knowledge is the business is really just a vehicle of getting your accounting knowledge out to more people. So it's not about business. I don't know if there's many people like passionate about business, or like great at business, but really just great at a craft and using that craft or using that skill or using that product or using that service and getting that out to more people. That's what the business is. It's just a vehicle. So whenever you are stuck on trying to get clarity on business stuff or you're not sure what you actually do with the business, understand that the business is a vehicle. So if you don't have something great to offer, like a product or a service, then you should be concerned with that at first, because the business, once again, really just a vehicle. I also told him, you do not need perfect clarity. You just need to focus on the what and the why. Because how often have you set a goal? So let's say that A is where you are right now and B is where you want to get to. So B is the goal. How many times have you been able to reach this goal exactly like you first thought? Or were there perhaps like obstacles, things that occurred that you could not predict, things that you could never have predicted, and maybe even at the end you realized the goal wasn't even what you wanted or it wasn't what you thought at all. So you ended up at C. That's kind of a comparison. The thing you have to understand is that you do not need perfect clarity on this path, on this line to achieve the goal. You just need to know the goal and just start acting. That's the only thing you need to do. Just know the goal, know like the first step, a bit of the general first step, and take action on it. Because you can never predict what's going to happen between here and now that's going to lead to you achieving the goal. So then we figured out that the goal he was pursuing wasn't his true goal. And this is where we get to the root of the problem, and which is why I like these cases so much, because at first this looks like a business problem. This looks like a problem where he doesn't have clarity on his business and he has some problems with his offer. So many people would probably advise Daniel here to start changing his offer or to start, testing some offers. But I was like, no, we're not doing that. We're just going to take a look at what is the actual problem. And when I asked him what his goal was, he said eventually quit his job and some other things as well. And the small goal he broke it down to is getting like 1 client or getting like 5 clients. I can't remember exactly. However, when I asked him why, and this is the easiest way to know what your intention behind your goal is, when I asked him why, he said that he wanted to do it obviously to make money from it. So it was like for financial reasons. And this was when we both realized, oh, this is the actual problem we're dealing with. So he wanted to try and figure out how to turn it into a valuable business that like helps people and makes him money. But the whole success of a business, in my opinion, comes from the quality of the product or service. This is why companies like Netflix, Apple, Google are so incredible, because they have a product or service and they use the business as a vehicle to get that out to people. So they don't focus on business, they don't focus on tactics, offers. Like obviously that is required, but the main thing is the actual product or service, because the business is just a vehicle to get that out to people. So I told him that money isn't actually a great goal. First of all, because of the business being a vehicle and it's about the product or service. But second of all, because your heart or subconscious mind, I refer to this as a heart, actually is representative of 90 to 95% of your actions, because your actions are very unconscious. For example, I'm speaking right now, it's very unconscious. I'm barely even aware of what I say in a moment. Your mind, on the other hand, and I have no idea, I'm just going to draw an M. Your mind, on the other hand, is only responsible for like 5 to 10% of your actions. What most people do is they set a goal with money. The subconscious mind does not understand money. Money is a logical transaction means for us to logically understand that in order to get something, you have to give money. So it's like a transaction measure. If you want this product, if you want this phone, for example, you have to exchange money. The logical mind understands this. The heart, the subconscious, that's representative of 90 to 95% of your actions, does not understand money. It doesn't. So for this reason, money is not a great goal. as well as this, you also have to understand that it's not a very pure intention. So I told him, like, let's say that you did already have the money that you wanted, or let's say you could actually decide you wanted to do without looking at the money. And he gave me a completely different answer. He said that he would love to actually run an ultra marathon. And this is why you know you found something great, because immediately after he said this, his energy changed. He started smiling. He started really lighting up and telling me about how badly he wanted to do this, because he wanted to make this achievement for himself as well. So now we've pretty much identified that the problem wasn't really his offer or helping people with something. The problem was that he was pursuing a goal which wasn't truly his. And even now, because now you can think, okay, he wanted to have a business and make money with it, but now you've just told him to like do an ultra marathon. And I'm not saying that this is like the moment that you should switch your entire life around and do this, because some opportunities are going to come as a result of this. It might be the case, and once again, you cannot know the how. So it might be the case that Daniel starts preparing for this ultra marathon, and within about a week or two, he comes across this person, and that person has like a fitness business or like a gym or stuff like that, and Daniel becomes interested in helping him. And then suddenly he makes an extra income from doing this while he also prepares for the ultra marathon. So it's basically two birds with one stone. He additionally benefits from this. And maybe then when he starts preparing, he starts to like get sponsors and he starts to make money from that. Maybe he even documents his journey on YouTube and people are interested in that. And that's going to attract more people and are going to eventually probably pay it. But the reason why this is important is because the position now is not from making money. The position now is from actually showing people that he's preparing for it because he cares about it. And people notice that in your YouTube videos. If you make YouTube videos with the intention of getting clients and making money, it's very selfish, kind of. So people will notice that. However, if you make YouTube videos with the intention of adding value, of like showing stuff, documenting, showing what you're passionate about, people will absolutely notice that. So this was the root problem we arrived at, the root cause we arrived at. And how we solved it is pretty much I told him to just pursue whatever he wanted to pursue. In this case, it would be the ultra marathon, and just focus on that goal. Keep your attention focused on that goal. And if you ever struggle with problems like clarity, just pretend like you do have clarity, because this removes the resistance and allows you to step into the feeling freely. That's going to allow you to act freely, and that's going to allow you to get the results you want. And as well, the business is just a vehicle. So instead of focusing too much on what do I offer, like what kind of content do I make, start focusing first on the product, service, craft, whatever you want to call it. So this is what I told him. This is basically how we arrived at the solution. This is how I helped Daniel get clarity. If you're interested in something similar, you can always send me a message. I got a free course in the description. You can check out where I explain some of these concepts in more depth, especially the one about attention. I highly recommend you read it if this interests you, because I spent quite a lot of time on it. So if you enjoyed the video, be sure to drop a like, subscribe if you want, and looking forward to see you in the next one.